Hi, welcome to the Ithihasa channel. We're going to discuss the Mahabharata, the greatest story ever written, the greatest story ever told, written by one of the greatest people ever to walk the face of this earth, Ganesha himself. And today we're going to start this series of the Mahabharata somewhere in the middle. We're going to start at a time when Pandu and his wives Kunti and Madri were in the southern slopes of the Himalayas. I know it's somewhere in the middle, but we're going to go back in time and forward in time and back in time and forward as the story deems fit. We're going to tell this story without any interpretation. I'm not going to give you my ideas of the Mahabharata. So let's begin the Mahabharata. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Nagendraya Namaha. Om Amme Narayana. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. My salutations to my Guru before I start, and we begin now. So Pandu, the great Kuru king, a handsome young man, albino, but a very handsome man, a very brave man, had come with his wives Kunti and Madri to the southern slopes of the Himalayas, where he decided to have a time of leisure with them. He indulged in hunting, in other sports, and with a good time with his wives, and it was probably the best times of their lives. During one such hunt that he went on, he came across a stag, a handsome stag, which was in intimate moments with its wife, a deer. And he couldn't resist himself, and taking out his quiver of arrows, he shot 5 arrows, extremely smooth with gold plumes, onto the stag and his wife. The arrows found their mark and pierced the heart of the stag and the deer, felling them instantly. There was a loud moan heard, a human-like moan, and Pandu gasped and went towards the stags. As he went close, he realized that that was not a stag and that was not a deer. The deer was actually a female sage, and the stag was a rishi, no ordinary rishi at that, a son of a great rishi. This rishi himself was the great rishi Kindama. And in his last breaths, with blood gurgling out from his throat, the rishi mustered up the courage and asked Pandu, "Why? Why did you do this to me?" Pandu was shell-shocked. He was surprised. He didn't know what to answer. And suddenly he gathered his wits about him and realized it was a big problem he was facing, and he needed to justify what he's done. So he told the rishi, "Look, rishi, I'm very sorry this happened, but I was not technically wrong." And the rishi asked, "What do you mean?" And he said, "See, it is normal for a king to hunt stags and deer, and the deer are abundant, and it's well known that we can hunt deer at this time." And the rishi said, "Yes, but did you not know I was having a time with my wife, a time of tenderness? I was in the middle of coition. And how could you do this at this time?" And he said, "See, I just saw you and I saw the deer with you, and I thought I could get you, and I did. I'm very sorry about that." So Rishi said, "You did it from a place of hiding. You didn't even announce yourself. If you had announced yourself, I would have presented myself to you." And Pandu said, "It's not wrong. It's not against dharma to hunt deer from hiding. It's been done in the past and it can be done. There's nothing wrong in it." And the sadhu said, "Even the worst people would not do it at a time when the male and the female are in a moment of tender embrace. How could you do it at that time?" He said, "Why were you in tender embrace in the form of a deer?" And the rishi said, "See, I like to spend nice and happy times with my wife. Sometimes we are tired of doing it in the form of a human. We use our ascetic powers to attain the form of deer and stag, to bring a little enjoyment, to bring a little variety into our lives. And sometimes we are ashamed to do it in the presence of other rishis in the forest. And so we change our form to do in the form of a deer. But that's besides the point. Do you not know Pandu, O great Kuru, who's the stalwart of the Kuru Empire? Do you not know that it's not right to kill a deer when it's pregnant, or to kill any animal when it's pregnant, and to kill a set of animals when they're in tender embrace with each other? So Pandu said, I'm really sorry about that. But you should know that deers have been hunted from time immemorial. Why, even the great sage Agastya, he used to ensure that the deer in the forest in which he used to hunt would be cleared of deer, and all the deers would be killed. And he used to use the fat of the deer in his homa. So it's not really a sin to kill a deer. In the last few breaths of that rishi, he couldn't believe what he was hearing. He was dying. His beloved wife, who he loved, was dying in his arms under him. And here's this great king who's quoting dharma, who's going into the past and quoting precedents, who's justifying himself, standing above me. He deserves to be cursed. And that's the irony of it. If Pandu had just apologized, had just fallen at the rishi's feet and said, I'm sorry, what I did was unforgivable, Pandu won that argument, but he lost the plot. And it was right time for a curse that changed the course of the Mahabharata. It was a curse that changed everything in the future. And the rishi cursed him, cursed Pandu, the great ruler of the Kuru race, and said, you will never, ever, ever enjoy your wife. You will never enjoy a tender moment with your wife. The moment you do it, you will be cursed to die, and your wife will follow in your footsteps to her death soon after. And saying that, the rishi breathed his last and fell down dead at Pandu's feet. It was then that Pandu finally realized the enormity of the situation he was in. But that's the difference. Pandu was a great man. A situation like this, where you're cursed to never have a good time with your wife, to never enjoy the comfort of your wife, to never enjoy the tenderness of your wife, you grow bitter, you grow hateful, you get angry. No, not Pandu. He was far better a man than anything. He just closed his eyes, took in the enormity of the situation, and decided that he has to atone for a sin he has committed. Unfortunately, he realized that it was a sin after he was cursed. We all have such people in our family who do something wrong and then go on and argue about it to prove they're right. This is a lesson for all of those people. Sometimes it's just good to say sorry, to apologize, to be humble. Anyway, Pandu was a great man. He was an extremely gallant warrior. He was gallant in war. He was pragmatic in victory. And he was pragmatic in defeat. Today was a day, a defeat like no other, like he's never seen in his life. And he was pragmatic in defeat. He walked home to the place where his wives were waiting for him, Kunti and Madri, both extremely beautiful princesses, the greatest beauties of the land, given to the Kuru Empire, to the Kuru's son, Pandu, in marriage. In tears, he told them the story of what happened with the sage Kindama. He told them of how he was cursed by Kindama to never have to be able to enjoy the pleasure of his wives. And what king would he be if he could never bear a son? What man would he be if he could never bear an heir? And he realized that this was the end of his royal days. And he told them that today on, I know that I will never bear a son. And what is the use of a man who cannot have a son? What is the use of a king who cannot have a son who will take this name forward, who will protect the kingdom in his old age, who will do Tarpana and Pinda for him after his death. What's the use of such a man? And such a man shouldn't be alive in the kingdom. So Pandu said, I will cut my hair, I will shave my hair, I will go to the mountains, I will be with the rishis. I will lead the life of an ascetic. I will lead a humble life. I will eat from the soil, I will eat from the land. I will hunt down animals which are easy. If I don't get animals, I will stay hungry. I will beg for alms from houses. And if I don't get alms, I will stay hungry. I will lead a simple life. I will learn the knowledge that is available to be learnt in these places. I will mingle with other rishis and be with them and spend the rest of my life with them. You, my queens, you stay on in the palace. Mind you, he was out on a holiday in the southern slopes of the Himalayas. So he told his wives, you all go back to Hastinapur. I will ensure that you all will be taken care of in Hastinapur. I will ensure that you all will have a good life in Hastinapur. I will ensure that you will have nothing wanting in your lives ever in the future. You will be treated like queens in that palace. Don't come with me. It's a sad life you have. His queens were shell-shocked. They couldn't believe it. Madri, the younger one of the two, started crying bitterly. She just wouldn't leave she fell down at his feet and just wouldn't leave his feet. Kunti, on the other hand, a very intelligent woman, very smart woman, very calculating woman. The whole scene flashed in front of her eyes and she realized that if she goes back to the palace, she's the wife of another man, the wife of a man who's given up everything and gone to the forest. She has no value there. She's not going to be respected. Yes, she may be respected under the commands of Pandu for a month, maybe a year, and after that the respect is going to dwindle. It's not going to be the same. She was brought up as a queen. She can't live the life as an ordinary woman in the palace alone without her husband. She would rather be an ordinary woman in the forest with her husband than an ordinary woman in the palace, surrounded by kings and queens and princesses and princes. And she made up her mind. She told Pandu, I am coming with you to the forest. Let Madri stay in the palace if she wants, but I will be with you in the forest. And obviously Madri was not having any of it. She immediately said, no, I just want to be where my husband is. I don't care for anything in the world. And Madri genuinely meant that. She cared for nothing in that world other than Pandu. She just wanted to be with him. So Pandu said, no, you can't live a life in the forest. It's a difficult life. It's very tough. You have to go around without the luxuries of the palace. You don't have great clothes to wear. You don't have good jewels to wear. So Kunti said, no. There have been times when rishis have gone with their wives, done intense tapasya. And today we know the problem that you face. So we will be there by you. We will ensure that you survive this. We will ensure that we will all live together happily in the forest and ensure that you don't go against the terms of the curse and you don't get the curse on you. We will be there by you. Pandu couldn't believe it. He would obviously love his wives to be there with him. He was apprehensive whether he could control himself. Probably that was the fear in Pandu's mind. But seeing the sternness of Kunti's gaze and knowing Kunti to be someone who could never be changed, who could never be altered, who could never be seduced, he knew he was safe. And then Kunti and Madri, called his assistants around, told them, take our jewels, take our fine clothes, distribute it among the people of Hastinapur. Tell them the beloved King Pandu is gone to the wild. Tell them about the curse that he faced. Tell the people of Hastinapur, tell the elders of Hastinapur, tell my brother Dhritarashtra what I have gone through, what's happened to me, and why I need to do what I'm doing. I'm sure Pitamaha Bhishma, my uncle, would be able to manage everything. He would be able to do everything well. Apologize to him. tell him that I am submitting the role that I had played for this much of time back to him. And I would like to go to the forest with my wife and spend time there. And so saying, Pandu, his two beautiful wives, started walking northwards. The Himalayas are an excellent range. They are the life giver for this earth. They're the life giver for Bharatma. This Bharat Varsha survives because of the Himalayas. It receives its monsoons because of the Himalayas. It receives life because of the Himalayas. Through the rivers that flow down from the Himalayas, this country derives its energy. And Pandu decided that that was the place he was going to go to. If the Himalayas were not where they were, Bharatvarsha would be like the West Asian desert. A part of that West Asian desert is there in the western part of Bharatvarsha. The entire middle plains of Bharatvarsha would have been an arid desert if it wasn't for the Himalayas. And it's to this life-giving range that Pandu walked with his wives. He crossed many small mountains. He crossed beautiful gardens. He passed beautiful meadows where the Gandharvas stay, certain areas which were out of range of human beings, certain areas which only the gods come to, certain areas where the gods come to for their holidays, and humans too. Crossing all these peaks, he went to the area of the 100 peaks of the Shatashringa, where between the beautiful, lofty, snow-clad peaks lay a beautiful plains called the Shatashringa. And it is there where Pandu and his wives retired. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.